Hello and welcome to ABP Live. I have with me today Her Excellency Khadijeh Karimi. She is Director General of International Affairs of the Vice Presidency for Women and Family Affairs. Welcome to ABP Live, ma'am, and thank you for talking to us.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the chance to talk to you.
Thank you. Ma'am, so let me ask by, understanding exactly what is happening in Iran because, we are watching several reports, visuals coming out of Iran. The world is witnessing unprecedented protests by the Iranian women there. You handle women affairs. And it has spiraled over 1 month and more than that now that the UN has also stepped into it. How would you describe what is going on? Do you think is this a temporary phase? What are your views on that?
Since you refer to what's going on in your media and the things which are shown in different media channels in India and over the globe, I should start with the point that it's mostly kind of media war than what is really going on in Iran. There are several satellite channels over the globe, especially those which are fed by VOA, by BBC, by Iran International, and they are broadcasting the views which are not real. The story started with the death of Mahsa Amini. I'm sure you know the name because it's getting circulated over the globe. And at that time, we had a specific concern about that. The government started the probe analysis. But before the forensic report could be reported, different channels over the globe started to assume and in a way to send the message that it has been done by the security police of Iran. And I'm sure you know that nowhere in the world the forensic analysis result can be broadcast and can be reported so soon as 1-2 days. But even before 2 days after her death, the message was sent over the world that it has been done by the security police of Iran. In Iran, we had peaceful assemblies first. People wanted to know what was going on, what was the reason for her death, and it was natural, it was logical. It is free in Iran to have peaceful demonstrations and assemblies. But because of the pressure of different media outside Iran, gradually these peaceful assemblies turned into riots and unrests. And it continued on and on, as you can see, and you just mentioned, for more than 1 month.
But Mahsa Amini's family also said that, she was tortured. What do you have to say to that?
It may have been because of those pressures that I mentioned, because at the first report that they had on TV, and it was broadcast as well, they told that it was not like that. And they talked about the background of her illness, because she had undergone a surgery before on her brain. She was receiving medicine. And at the first time when the interviews were conducted, they told that no, it was not the case.
But the protests that are going on right now, and also we've seen some of the visuals in the news channels that women protesting, burning hijab and other things. You are saying that's not the majority view. What is it that the majority of the women want in Iran?
The picture that you see in different channels is the picture of at most 200 people in Iran. And you know that the population of Iran is 80 million people. So 200 out of 80 million people means a quarter of 1% of Iranians. I mean, more than 99% of Iranian people are not those who are protesting. And I'm not sure if you have heard the news that several weapons have entered Iran, and they are using different kinds of firearms and cold arms, and they are violating things. They are disturbing the peaceful life of people, and they have been even trained outside Iran for such kinds of violent actions that they have against people in Iran. They are destroying people's properties, public ones and private ones. And they are not people who have logical wants and demands, because according to the Iranian constitution, people have the right to have assemblies, and we had several of them. We have 800 assemblies last year. They were peaceful, and they let the government hear their voice, their demands, their wishes, their wants. But this was not kind of peaceful assembly, and that's why the police needed to stop them from violating people's rights, people's
But who are these
life.
people, according to you, that who are bringing arms, as you are saying, and the protests are taking place across Iran?
There are, of course, several of them are Iranians. Some of them are not Iranian. You have heard about the sad story of terroristic event in Shah Cheragh. 15 people were killed in the terroristic event there. And you know that the terrorist was not Iranian. There are both Iranian and non-Iranians, of course, but they are fed through different kinds of media, even tutorials that they receive. It may wonder you to know that there are tutorials on different kinds of media teaching them how to build Molotov cocktail and other explosive, how to do riots, how to destroy things, how to even wear clothes so as to not be recognized, how to wear masks, how to destroy things. They are all tutorials over there. So the story is that they are being trained on how to do violence against people, and they are actually doing ISIS-like, let's say, functions and operations. It may wonder you to know that the Iranian police was not even allowed to have firearms with it. None of the soldiers have firearms to stop them. And they try to keep everything as calm as possible and to decrease the number of potential killed people as less as possible. And that's why we had more than 80 of our police forces killed by these rioters these days, from the start of the riots up to present, which has been controlled, alhamdulillah.
But there are incidents coming up of other women also being punished for taking part in the protests. What do you have to say on that as well? Because there are many women we are seeing inside Iran saying that they don't want to follow the dress code.
You know, first part of your question, which is about the number of women who are protesting. According to statistics, the formal ones, we had
And there are
about...
reports of them being tortured as well.
No, it's that's what I'm gonna say. We had 88% of protesters being men and about 12% being women. What is being broadcast in media is that most of those who are, as you say, tortured or are imprisoned are women. It is not the case, because at most 12% of the protesters were women. And the second point is about the dressing code in Iran. Maybe what is being presented is that there is kind of very strict rules of hijab in Iran. I want to say that, like other countries, we have our own dressing code, which is out of our norms, our values, our culture. And different kinds of dressing is allowed for women and men, so far as they do not violate the norms and rules of our country. I'm sure in India you have your dressing code rules, and people are not allowed to come into the streets, for instance,
No, but in India, you are free to wear anything. Nothing is mandatory on you.
Yes, and we are free. Our women are free to have different kinds of dressing, different kinds of clothes. This is the kind of hijab I have selected for myself. And the delegation which have come to India during these past 4 or 5 years, we have different types of dressing. I wish they were there and could see them. We even have some tribes, we even have some ethnic groups who have their own local dresses, and they are allowed to have them, because Iran has multiple ethnicities and people in different provinces have their own traditional clothes. So they are permitted to have them, so far as they are not against the norms of Iranian culture.
But what if a woman is not keen in wearing the hijab? That's mandatory by your constitution, no?
You know, it is kind of normative or normal covering, and there is no obligation.
Talking about the fact that this has, the UN has stepped into it and they've asked for, investigation to be done into the protests. What are your views on that? Will you be allowing such an investigation to be carried out?
You know, I'm sure you agree that there are several things being carried out over the globe which are against human rights. Even in the US, if you see for instance, one of the reports, the Washington Post says that from 2015 up to present, a very large number, I think 5,600 people were killed by the police of the US, and 250 of them have been women. And you know that the most prisoners of the world are in the US prisons. But there is no UN report, no UN special session about them. Know that, for instance, in some areas of the world, people are under general pressures, like in Yemen. People in Yemen are in need for their basic requirements. 70% of people in Yemen are in need for food, and 90% are in need for humanitarian aids. But no one holds special sessions about them. When it comes to one case in Iran, which is of course a very sad story, and everybody in Iran is upset about that, and the government expressed its sympathy from the beginning of this sad event. But the point that such a special session is being held about Iran, and special reporters are introduced for Iran, while our women have been achieved very, very greatly in Iran, is suspicious. I'm sure we agree. If I want to give you a few of such statistics about the achievements of Iranian women, I should say that in different areas like education, like in health, like in entrepreneurship, like women in power, like in sports, like in media, they have achieved very, very largely. If I just want to refer to some of these achievements, for instance, when it comes to education, today we have less than 10% of illiterate women. Most of the Iranian women are literate. And when it comes to primary school and high school, there is absolutely no gender gap, we can say. When it comes to higher education, you can see that Iranian women make up 33% of faculty members of public universities and 34% of medical universities. When it comes to, for instance, knowledge-based companies, most of them are being founded by Iranian women and managed and directed by them. When it comes to health, for instance, as I told, most of the physicians who are working in subspecialties or specialties can have equal chance with women. We have about 40% of specialists in different kinds of medicine being women. And we have 98% of gynecologists as women. And today we have the life expectancy of Iranian women reaching to the high level of 78%. It's very high according to the standards of the world. In different areas, we have several medals, international, national ones, obtained by Iranian women. Several referees in the world, the international ones, and judges are women. And entrepreneurship, as I told, we have 4 courses of the health of the environment organization of Iran, run by women, and 40% of the top executives in this organization and several other organizations are women. In decision making, we have several women. If a government wants to suppress its women, it never educates them. We have very high levels of education achievement by our women. And in some cases, they are astonishing. People cannot believe that the Iranian women have been able to achieve so greatly after the Islamic Revolution of Iran.
And ma'am, my last question to you, now that you are in India and you're meeting certain, academicians and scholars, what is it that you are doing in terms of more linkages between Iranian and Indian women? achievers?
Iran and India have very rich culture and very close ties. And because of the close relation that Iran and India have already have, and because of the linkage that Iranian people and Indian people feel in their heart, in their culture, in their literature, and of course in the achievements they have in knowledge, in different areas of knowledge, we can see and we can think of different links between Iranian people, Iranian women specifically, and Indian women. When it comes to literature and education of Persian, we have very good potentials for cooperation. When it comes to education in general, higher education, and then medicine specifically, I think we can have good relations. Iranian women have achieved very significantly in IT, and I think that there are very good potentials to have more cooperation in terms of IT-related sciences. When it comes to engineering, we have several engineer women in Iran. I think they can cooperate with the Indian people, Indian women specifically, because we're in charge of women. We are thinking of everything from the perspective of how women can cooperate. And I think in art, we had several people who showed interest in the Iranian art, in calligraphy, in other aspects of painting, in different kinds of styles of dressing. I think there are very rich potentials for cooperation.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Ms. Karimi. Thank you for talking to us. That was Ms. Khadijeh Karimi. She's looking after women affairs within the Iranian government. You are watching ABP Live. Thank you.